What do you recall from when you first met Bernie?
Intimidation, fear. The most powerful man in motorsport, and I was running a Formula 3000 team, a Formula 2 team at the time, which Bernie was, controlling everything, and all the teams wanted a bit more prize money, and they decided to put me into bat as a young team principal to go and ask him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember the first phone call I had with him was very abrupt.
How did it go?
It didn't go well.
So
it didn't go well for me.
You call,
I called
he
him
answers.
And I said, Bernie, I'm calling on behalf of all of the teams. We're struggling a little bit financially, and we feel that it'd be good if you could increase the prize fund just to help us out a little bit. And I think it was pretty much a two-word answer. But then he rang back.
Wait, so what did he say?
I began with an F and ended with an off.
Really?
Pretty much. And so, but then he called back a bit later and he said, well, what can you do to make it more exciting? And then we decided we'd introduce a pit stop into the race, and which wasn't happening at the time in Formula 2. And that was my first introduction to him. And so I think because I stood my ground, I tried to do something that was right, he sort of respected me a little bit for that.
How would you describe him relative to what you would have thought he would have been like?
Well, he was everything that I thought he was going to be like. He was sort of like this mafioso character, hugely powerful presence. When he walked into a room, everybody went quiet. But then when you get to know the person, he's got the biggest and most extraordinary heart and compassion for that I've ever met in a human being. And so there's two sides to him. There's the hard-nosed business, former second-hand car dealer that's made an absolute fortune and built Formula One into what it is. And then there's a guy that, if anybody's in trouble, very discreetly, he's there to help, with the charity work that isn't publicized. I mean, the money he's put into charities like Great Ormond Street and Wings for Life and stuff like that is incredible.
And that largely goes unrecognized too, right?
He's a very private man.
How have you seen him really contribute charitably?
Well, when there was a tsunami, he sent a whole load of clothes and money and water and stuff that that he thought that they would need. And he's such a big-hearted guy. He's got a soft spot for animals. He'll save any animal that he meets or comes across. From whether it's dogs, or he's got a farm in Brazil, a huge cattle range, and not one cow gets slaughtered.
Wow.
So there's like a retirement home out there. I remember he came to visit me at my house. I live in the country, and there was a bunch of sheep that were a load of lambs that were due to be going to Harrods, I think, for the following week. And he was like, well, can I buy them? I said, well, where are we going to put 200 lambs?
Right.
But he's a big-hearted guy, and as I say, there's very much two sides to it.
I think you were the best man in his wedding, and he's the godfather to your children. What's he like, kind of man-to-man, when the cameras are away and he's away from work?
He's a regular guy. He's always thinking of a deal. And if you on a Sunday morning, there's a little auction in London that sells all kinds of furniture, out of stock stuff, this, that, and the other. You'll find him down there every Sunday, looking for a deal. And he's got a warehouse full. It's a bit like the scene out of Indiana Jones, the warehouse that he has. And he knows everything he's got in there, from slot machines to settees or anything that he thinks is a deal. I'm sure it drives his wife Fabiana mad, but he just loves it. When
he's long past, how do you think he will most be remembered?
I think there's a few things he'll outlive all of us, because he's the youngest 87-year-old I've ever met.
And he really is.
Yeah, he's got so much energy. I think there'll be a couple of things that he'll be remembered for. One is the unbelievable job that he did for Formula One, creating this sport that is a global phenomenon today. And I think it's only probably when he's gone people will realize exactly what he achieved. I think probably the second thing he'll be remembered for is the amount of rubbish that he bought in the auctions in his hangar that some poor, sod has got to get rid of. And I think he'll take great delight from up above, thinking that Paul Fabiano has got to get rid of all this shit that he's bought in the auctions.
How have you seen the sport most grow during his tenure?
It's unbelievable. He took a sport that was uncommercialized, unorganized, undisciplined, and he turned it into a global sport that outside the Olympic Games and the World Cup is the biggest sporting phenomenon in the world. He took it around the world. He introduced it into so many different markets, so many different racetracks. And, he's able to deal with, whether it's from Putin to, the Abu Dhabi royal family or, wherever we go, people are prepared to open the door to him, and I think what he's done for the sport is legendary.
If not for him, where do you think Formula One would be today?
It would be nowhere near the sport that it is today. I mean, he's really driven the brand so hard, and he's given a huge amount back to the teams, and it's obviously times move on, things change, but what he did in his tenure was what made the sport an $8 billion business that was sold at the end of last year.
Thank you very much.